Hello, listeners, and welcome to The Week Ahead, a podcast by SBM Intelligence. I'm your host, Veronica Pana Igube. Every Friday, we explore stories that are shaping our continent. The African Forward Summit in Nairobi has brought together African leaders, global investors, and business executives to discuss investment, trade, innovation, and Africa's economic future. With critics accusing the summit of being a French operation, could the summit mark a turning point in how Africa positions itself in the global economy and unlock stronger partnerships for sustainable growth? Nigeria's stock market has surpassed a 160 trillion in value, signaling renewed investment confidence and strong momentum. What is driving this new renewed momentum in the Nigerian stock market? And can the surge in investors' confidence be sustained amid the country's economic realities? President Tinubu has appointed a new Homeland Security Adviser to strengthen Nigeria's security framework and improve coordination in addressing rising security challenges. This move reflects the government's ongoing efforts to enhance national safety and stability. Joining us today for further insights to the podcast is Uchechukwu Eze Ezezia. My apologies for that. An analyst at SBM Intelligence. Welcome, Uchechukwu, to the podcast.
Uh, I'm glad to be here. It's actually Ejezie.
Ezezia, thank you very much for that.
Thank you for having me.
I mean, it's the first time having you on the podcast, so I'm really excited. Drum roll. This week we
Happy
have
to be here.
Yeah, this week we have like quite interesting conversations and kind of like interesting conversations. Let's start with our first story where we speak about the African Forward Summit, which is holding in Nairobi. So, this is an interesting summit because it's good where we see African leaders try to unite to ensure that we address economic challenges that are affecting the continent and also the unification. But one thing that we're seeing different with this is that we're seeing a strong presence of France. Emmanuel Macron everywhere kind of in the summit. We've seen him engage. We've seen, world leaders from our nation, from the African nation, like engage with him. So if we're saying this is an African forward summit, and we're seeing African leaders, and also we're seeing global investors and, executives, why do you think that we're seeing a French presence? Let's just start with the basic. What was the aim of the summit, right? How was this summit to benefit Africa? And the second part of the question will be kind of like, why are we seeing a strong French presence in this as well?
Okay, thank you for that question, for those questions. Okay, the purpose of the summit is President Macron announced 23 billion euros in investments, including 14 billion from French companies and 9 billion from African entities to focus on energy and AI and agriculture, basically to invest back in African economies. So it's focused on 7 key sectors, which are renewable energy, AI, agriculture, health and manufacturing, maritime trade, and blue networks and critical minerals. But what I will say on the question of what is the purpose and why we are seeing a strong French presence, I'll say this summit is happening at a time where Africa is building its own presence and influence in the world. You can see Europe is trying to rebuild a partnership or a connection back to Africa. China already has deep infrastructure partnerships with Africa. Other countries are equally actively investing in Africa. even like in light of this week of the Strait of Hormuz thing, we have seen that okay, for the global economy to be able to stabilize, there has to be like buffers, yeah. What happened in the Strait of Hormuz was that when the Strait of Hormuz was blocked, there were no other places to like get the amount of oil and the amount of capital that was coming from that place out to the world and where it needs to be. So the I think the global economy has come to see that okay, we can no longer just turn a blind eye to Africa anymore. Africa is a place that we can invest in and have shock absorbers and buffers in times like this. But the thing with this partnership is we now have to ask, are these partnerships mutually beneficial for both parties, or is it one that breeds on probably exploitation or like it used to be? Because
Exactly.
even African, yes, because even African leaders at the summit argued that the continent is unfairly priced as high risk, which makes borrowing costs expensive despite having strong growth potential, which is what we see. For example, in Nigeria now, Nigeria has never defaulted in its bonds or treasury bills ever. Yet our euro bond is just below 8%. While some South American countries like probably Argentina that constantly have issues paying their bonds have a are still rated fairly than us. So in my opinion, I'll say this the summit was I mean it had good intentions, but it was a PR exercise by the French that had a geopolitical agenda. France in itself is trying to like gather back the scraps of control that they lost in Africa. It was basically a way to repackage neocolonialism as partnership. And it will not work because Africa has gone past a point of a father-child relationship with other countries when it comes to partnership, which is what France probably wants with this whole summit of a thing. Because judging by the way that France picked the venue, France planned the event, and even President Macron himself was like the key host at the event. And I heard, I don't know the entire context of this, but I heard that at some point he even scolded some African youths, saying that they were being disrespectful, which might have sounded condescending, but I won't like buttress much on that because again I wasn't there, so I didn't know. But basically, what I'm trying to say is that as we are saying, what French is trying to do again is to bring back neocolonialism, but like hiding through the corners, basically. Let's call it partnership, but we know what it actually is a place where I control you and you do as I ask and I get resources from you. But yeah, that is what I would say is like the hidden end goal of this summit or this partnership that the French is proposing, or the French are proposing. So a partnership with Africa now, not just for the French or for any country that wants to genuinely partner with Africa, has to ask, is this truly an equal partnership that is mutually beneficial? And if it is not, then I think it will work.
I mean, I agree with you because as you said, it's kind of like a PR agenda. France is trying to grasp new friendships. We've seen them try to partner with
Yeah,
Kenya now, and we're also seeing them try to partner with Nigeria as well. When
Nairobi,
when our president went there last year as well. And they've seemed to lose hold of the nations that they held, and now they are trying to look for new partnerships. Um, what do you
yes,
think? I mean,
exactly.
our president is also present at this summit and has made quite a number of statements as regards to what's happening in our economy. He referred to the kind of challenges that Nigeria is facing around our um would I call them loans or source of let's just call them loans what they are but like source of funding for Nigeria from investors as well. He tried to point out, but what do you think? I mean, if let's look beyond the France, coming out doing the PR. How can African nations ensure that even if they understand what is going on, I feel like they can also leverage to this opportunity to build strong partnerships within themselves. What countries do you think that Nigeria, I mean, in this meeting, should be having conversations with to try to build partnerships with on the African continent?
Yes, I don't know the list of countries that attended this summit, but generally, I think Africans or African countries in general need to do more partnerships with African countries than we do with, because if you check, not a lot of African countries do like inter-African partnerships, but we all have somewhere in Europe or in Asia or that are our close partners. But who in Africa would you say is your closest partner? For Nigeria now, which African country would you say is our closest partner? I can't quite like name one as much as like with
To
as
say
much influence
Ghana,
as we know
yeah,
of, yeah, with as much influence as we know of China, as we know of Britain or America, which which African country can we speak of with as much influence in Nigeria? I don't know. It's probably South Africa because of their investments in Nigeria. But when it comes to country on country partnerships or country with country partnerships, I think we as Africans need to collaborate more because the more we collaborate together, the more we all grow as a group, as a continent together. And they say you can break one broom. I don't know exactly how they say it, but you can break one stick of broom, but you can't break a whole broom. So when we all come together to partner as a continent, maybe not every country with every country, but you get what I'm trying to say.
yeah, I
We
do.
become stronger, and then
Okay.
when this sort of European or foreign influence is coming to probably bully us or something, we can withstand. We have our own, because in that sense, when we grow as a group, we'll have our military, we'll have our military intact, our economies intact, our finances intact. So we'll have our own leverage to
Mm,
use to negotiate and negotiate from a higher standpoint than we would now. Because what we are basically doing now is seeking aids and seeking help and looking for who will help us here and there. But when we build ourselves internally, then we can not just seek aid, but seek partnership that is actually mutually beneficial but for both the country or the continent and the partner we are seeking out.
I mean, I do agree with you, Uche, because I mean, our president kind of like tried to buttress how we're demanding for a financial system that is intentional about enabling African industries. And he spoke about how Nigeria needs a lot of funding for our industries. Well, I agree with you that Nigerians need to see how we can find solutions, private sector to invest as well, to build industries in Nigeria. And I feel like Africa can partner with Africa, Nigeria for Nigeria, Ghana for Ghana to be able to address the challenges that we're facing in our country.
Yes.
Let's move over
Yes.
to our second story. I mean, it's really
Awesome.
interesting where we're seeing the Nigerian stock markets. I mean, it's booming, kind of like we're seeing a lot of investors coming in, and there's kind of a renewed momentum that's going on there. What do you think is driving this renewed momentum in the Nigerian stock exchange? And do you think that it would continue? Um, at the momentum that we're seeing right now.
Okay, speaking of the growth, to put a little bit of numbers to the growth, tell you just how much we have grown. In 2025 alone, the NGX appreciated by 55%. 55%. And this year, this 2026, we are barely halfway into the year, and the NGX has appreciated by over 60%. I think about 61. And it's on its way to becoming the best performing market in history. So this is a huge milestone for Nigeria and Nigeria's economy as a whole. And there are many reasons why this is happening. Many reasons why this is happening. And I would say that one of it, or the most prominent one, is increased foreign and domestic attention on the Nigerian market. because there is an improvement in the economy generally. What I would say as another thing I would say that has driven this is improved market infrastructure. For example, the NGX reduced the settlement time from T plus 3 to T plus 2, and on the way to becoming T plus 1 later this year. For what this means is that if you invest in the stock market today, it reflects in 2 days. And if you sell your stock today, you get your money in 2 days. For context, this used to be 3 days before for about 20 something years, and before then it was 14 days. So to see how much we have grown from 14 days to 2 days, and there are rumors that by this year it will move to T plus one, which is just 1 day reflection rate. Sorry, 1 day reflection lag. Another thing is retail participation has improved, meaning that for us retail investors, you can just pick up a phone and go on one of these apps. There is Bamboo, there's ARM, and you send money in it and you just buy stock at your convenience. Just it's just that easy. So when things are that easy, when there is like little barrier to entry, of course people will want to involve themselves more in it. Then the trading time as well is also like another thing that has greatly helped the growth, because the trading time was moved from 9:30 to 2:30, but now it is at 9 to 4, meaning that there is an extra 2 hours every day for trading. And when there is extra time for trading, that means more money will be traded, more assets will be traded, more capital will be traded. Then there's something that happened in 2023, yes, when investors could not repatriate their funds because of like the scarcity of the USD. That has changed now, and investors are now able to repatriate their funds. And that incident of 2023 was the reason why Nigeria was classified back to unclassified in the frontier market. And this year, we've been classified back to frontier market. And when a country like Nigeria is classified to frontier markets in the rating agencies, which is the one that classified Nigeria was FT Russell, once that kind of thing happens, it means that foreign investors now look at this company and be like, okay, this is an emerging potential. And when they see this emerging potential, they obviously want to invest because this rating agency has already told them that, okay, this company, sorry, this country is coming up. So you as an investor will obviously want to gain from the growth that this particular company is, sorry, why am I saying company? Country is getting. So yeah, that is basically the reasons it is easier for retail investors to come in. Uh, foreign attention, the reduction in the settlement time, and then some other things as well, which also goes with general economic growth in the country. So the question of whether or not this growth can be sustained for long, I'll say that the growth is just starting, because there are still many big giant companies in Nigeria that are not yet listed on the Nigerian Stock Exchange. The Nigerian Stock Exchange right now is only about 35%, yes, of our GDP. There are countries that their stock exchange are like maybe twice of their GDP. So Nigeria is getting there. Nigeria is basically just starting with this growth we are seeing, because Dangote refinery, as big as it is scheduled to list, I think, next month or in a couple of months. And when this happens and we see a surge in foreign investors, other companies will also be encouraged to list as well. For example, we have big, giant fintech companies like Money Points that are still private but have intentions to list. Once Dangote comes out and lists, and there is maybe the shares are oversubscribed, that boosts their own morale in listing their own companies as well. So I would say this surge is just starting. We are just seeing the beginning of this growth. So if you're an investor, not financial advice, but you might want to try the NGX.
I agree with you because for a few months now we've been having that conversation that the Dangote refinery is going to be listed, and I'm serious. I've heard a lot of people are getting ready to invest. So just like you said,
We are getting
we're getting ready to invest, and just like you said, I feel like we're going to see a lot of oversubscription, definitely. And actually, with the wave that it's going, I'm sure more companies are, just like you stated, more companies are going to list on the Nigerian stock market. Now we're moving on to our final story. Where we're going to, well, I mean, we saw President Tinubu appoint a new Homeland Security Advisor. I mean, this is a move where everybody is saying we already have a National Security Advisor, we already have a Minister of Defense. I mean, Nigeria already has a kind of security architecture, and this is coming to like kind of disrupt that. So, I mean, what do you think the role of the Homeland Security Advisor is going to be? I mean, per the appointment from the president, what do we hope to see? What changes do we hope to see in the security situation in Nigeria by this move? Some people, I mean, some critics are saying this feels like a political move, where they are trying to sideline the national security advisor. Some other critics are saying, I mean, some other people are hailing the president to say, you know what, this move is to address the security challenges because the president wants to have like closer ears to himself to know what's happening, especially as the elections are coming in, where I'm sure the president wants a re-election, and a lot of people have been screaming security, security, security. So, what do you think about this move, and what are your thoughts?
okay. On paper, I think Famadewa is a credible choice because he established the Intelligence Fusion Center at ONSA, which brought together the joint forces, which are the DIA, NIA, DSS, Nigerian Police, and Nigerian Army, together in a single intelligence platform. So this shows that the man has real skills and expertise to be put to use for the general security problem we have in Nigeria. But then the issue is that Nigeria, like you said, already has a national security advisor for decades. And the NSA's office has already existed to coordinate intelligence and security agencies. So, General Famadewa's responsibilities will most likely clash with those of the NSA. Another thing to note is that before this appointment, before he retired, I think, General Famadewa was under the NSA. So now that there is the NSA and then there's the Homeland Security Advisor, who reports to who, and there's going to be a problem of hierarchy and a problem of bureaucracy happening because what we are basically doing is duplication of functions where functions do not need to be duplicated because the main issue that this security crisis has, or the deeper failure that lies in it, is the persistent lack of operational coordination between the military, the police, and the intelligence agencies and other services. So all of this is not going to be solved just by appointing a new person. No, it won't be solved until the person appointed or already existing agencies have the right powers and the budgets and the full institutional backing of the presidency, and the also the infrastructural needs that they have are met. All this, like appointing a new person, won't make a huge difference. And like you said, with the timing of this appointment, it's signaling at the ahead of the 2027 elections to show that okay, the president is doing something to the security crisis. But why now? This security crisis has been happening since 2023, since he was elected. Why is it just less than a year to election that is appointing someone else? Why is it just less than a year to election that is making a public announcement that is doing something. So if until the president addresses the real failures of these agencies, I don't think appointing a new person is going to do anything. It's just like putting a stamp on a wound and just like leaving it like that. Because it doesn't solve the inherent problem that is at hand. It is just appointing another person again to just stand where there is no real institutional and policies that are being done or or plans being taken or actions being taken as well to actually tackle this security crisis. What we are seeing is just a new appointment. How is that supposed to solve our crisis? So to me, this is just signaling for the 2027 elections, in my opinion, and is also a waste of resources in the fact that it is a duplication of functions between what the NSA is already doing and what this new Homeland Security Advisor is going to be doing. So yes, that is it.
I mean, I agree with you that there's definitely going to be clash, especially in the responsibilities or kind of because you can face a situation where the NSA gives a different advice and the Homeland Security Advisor gives a different advice, and that
Exactly.
would cause a clash in roles and responsibilities as well and functions. I do agree with you on that one. No, I don't know. We come to the end of this podcast, but it really has been an interesting conversation.
Oh wow, that was fast.
That was fast, I know. It was really, really interesting stories that we had covered today.
I'm glad to be here.
Thank you very much, Uche, for joining us and sharing your
Thank
perspectives
you, Veronica, for having me.
on these key issues. Hope to have you back again. To all our listeners, this podcast is by SBM Intelligence. You can access our podcast for searching for SBM Intelligence anywhere you find podcasts. If you haven't already, be sure to subscribe, like, share. We would love to hear your thoughts as well. Please drop that in the comment section. For deeper insights into our work, please visit our website at sbmintel.com. Remember to connect with us on all our social media platforms. You can find us on X, Facebook, Blue Sky, LinkedIn at SBM Intelligence. Thank you for listening to the week ahead. Join us. Be sure to join us next Friday as we discuss more interesting updates that are shaping the African continent. Thank you.